Good morning, everyone. Today is January 12th, 2021. It's a beautiful Tuesday. I just want to welcome everyone that's listening live and to the viewers from the different social media platforms watching this recorded. Thank you for giving me the chance to give you some entertainment this morning and just shed some light on some of my thoughts that I've been thinking. Alright, so let's jump into it. If you didn't read the description, today I want to talk about social media and the way it's changed and shaped our society, as well as eliminating can't from your vocabulary. So as far as social media, how I want to get into that, or rather, what made me even want to talk about this topic is Selena Powell. I've been calling her Celine. I googled it today. Her name is Selena. So I want to start off by saying I'm not picking on her. I could have did this about John Gabbana, aka Boot Gang. I could have did this on 6ix9ine. I could have did it on anybody that, in my opinion, is searching for big clout on these social media platforms. But not only are they searching for that clout, it's the way they go about it. And that's what I want to talk about today. How social media has kind of changed the way our society not only looks at popularity, but they will do anything and everything to try to garner that. So let's just jump right into it. If you don't know already, Selena Powell, she kind of parades herself on social media, Twitter, Instagram, as, and these are her words, not mine, the social media like slut. I don't think that she has any form of background in like pornography or anything like that. I looked it up. I didn't see anything. I don't know how she garnered her fame as far as getting around these celebrity circles, but she did, and she goes in these celebrity circles and she has sex with NBA stars, NFL stars, music artists, mostly rap artists, and she kind of like parades herself around and celebrates it. She has a podcast and she tells stories about her different sexual adventures with NBA stars and things like that. So why did I choose her? Not because that she chooses to have sex with these celebrities and stuff. That's her business. I don't care about that. But yesterday, or maybe it was the day before, she posted a video with the caption of, "These are all the celebrities that made me get an abortion." And there was Offset on there. There was Gucci Man. There were a whole bunch of celebrities. If you want to find the video, you can go on her Twitter. It hasn't been taken down or anything. And that video alone just made me go, what is she doing and why? Because you would think, and this is just my opinion once again, you would think that people that, specifically women, I don't want to say people, women that are getting these abortions, they want to keep that matter private. They don't want to celebrate something like that. But like I said, that's her business. That's neither here nor there. But her specifically, it's very obvious that she does this to poke at people and antagonize them so that her name gets out there in the social media world. So therefore, she has the platform to be able to speak on a podcast. If someone sees that post, they might be more inclined to say, what does she have a podcast for? And be more inclined to tune in. That's what she does to garner these fans. Same thing with Boot Gang, or John Gabbana as he goes by now, when he was doing all those pranks before. He started at one scale. Let's say he would go to a corner store and stand on the I don't want to say the cash register, but where the checkout. He might stand on it and say, Boot Gang, whole lot of gang, and steal some things and run out. And obviously, if you don't know how the story goes, he ended up upscaling his pranks. He would go up to cops and like smack them or something and say Boot Gang. Like he kept upping, as I might say, up in the ante, trying to gather more fans. You can use 6ix9ine antagonizing rappers. Most notably Chief Keef, who's from Chicago. Chicago's known for like its drill scene. It's like the murder capital now. Well, Philadelphia is now, but for many years Chicago was known for that. So big rappers like Little Durk and Meek Mill, and you can come up with anyone. Rest in peace, King Von. Like all these rappers from Chicago, they're obviously known for what they say in their lyrics, true or not, what they say in their lyrics. So 6ix9ine, once again, wanting to gather fans, garner more fame, he antagonizes them. And why do we feel like that is what is needed to garner our fans? That's what I primarily want to focus on today. So, in my opinion, well, let's back up. Where did we even get all this social media from? I'm not going to do a huge history lesson or anything like that, but when Facebook and MySpace are most notably some of the most early forms of present day social media. Before that, there were like chat rooms, like that, what are they? 4chan, like 4chan, and different chat rooms like that, which ended up turning into Reddit and different platforms like that. But most notably, Facebook and MySpace are what started present day social media. And Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg created it as kind of like not a dating site, but a rating. It's for a way for people to meet around the Harvard campus. That's where he went to school. And he was like, hey, if we do this, we can post our pictures on there and people can rate us, and it'll be funny. And Elon Musk actually posted a picture, a meme the other day, and said, like, it was a domino effect. And at the bottom, the tiniest domino was like, it said a social media platform used to rate women. And then at the top, the biggest domino was the storming of the Capitol. And that's honestly how social media has gone. It went from a tiny little thing, not meant for any harm, to in 2016, it quite literally shaped the entire election. And now, as we just saw a week ago in 2020, it is what perpetuated the violence and the insurrection at the Capitol. All it took was a couple tweets, because people have these 80 million, 100 million, 200 million followers. All it takes is them to tweet one thing, and it's that. And people can connect so easily that if done what I want to call incorrectly, not wrong, and I'll talk about that soon, between what's right and what's wrong and what's correct and incorrect. If the platform is used incorrectly, meaning goes against the guidelines that have been established by it or for it, we obviously see how huge these groups of people and masses can react to if something is used incorrectly. So going from there, how did social media turn from just a little friendly website about rating people to now antagonizing it for clout, poking into I don't want to even say that social media is the reason that we poked into everyday celebrities' lives or everyday people's lives, looking back 10 years on their tweet history and antagonizing them for that, because we've been doing that. That's not anything new. There was tabloids and E-magazine and things like that in the 90s, 2000s, 80s. They were poking into people's lives as well. So that is not new. But what is new, because of the advent of the internet, is how quickly these things blow up. If someone does something, right now it's 7:39 a.m. If someone did something at 7:40, by 8:40, it would already be plastered on tens of thousands of websites and millions of tweets everywhere. For example, if it was Cardi B, not to pick on her, but she has a huge fan base. Social media has social media has given these platforms, these celebrities, to be so wide open. And do they deserve to be picked on? In my opinion, no. But that's just what comes with the territory now. So to get back to it, why has social media perpetuated this culture? Well, in general, it's picking on the heartstrings of how our society was built. In general, when we were evolving, we had, not to call them clans, but that's what they were. We had tribes. We're a tribal society, coming up from, whether it be Native Americans, coming up from Africa, coming up from barbaric societies. When there were barbarians, we are a tribal society, and we do our best to stick together and to try to rise to the top of our tribes, to be chief leaders, and to be at the top. And as of right now in our society, that's what celebrities are looked at as, the top of the top. So that's already ingrained in our DNA to be that. But prior to social media, prior to, let's even go back hundreds of years, prior to any of this technology, what you had to do is be the best warrior. You had to be the best farmer. You had to be the best at a physical task. The maybe the most strong in the village to go to the top. But fast forward to 2021, all you have to do is have the most views on your Instagram video, the most likes. And that is and as we go on in our future, that to keep using the word perpetuates everyone to come after the Selenas, the 6ix9ines, the Boot Gangs. That perpetuates all of them to do more wild stuff because, that someone already did that. That doesn't work anymore. I got to try something else. But I want what they have. I see 6ix9ine is a platinum artist, a gold artist. I see Selena riding around in Lamborghinis. I see Boot Gang have on all these gold chains. I want those things. So if acting erotically is going to do those things, then that's what I got to do. Excuse me. So social media in general wasn't made for these types of outcries, if that's what you want to call them. And I don't want to downplay social media like it's all bad either. I want to get into the positives of it as well. I read this story the other day that I want to share about TikTok. So how do we go about changing that? Well, there's a good documentary on that called The Social Dilemma by Tristan Harris, and he talks about everything that I'm talking about more in depth, and he goes into how social media truly picks at the brains of how our brain is wired, and how these social media platforms like Twitter, like Reddit, like Facebook have made themselves addictive on purpose. It's not an accident. So if you know all eyes, which we all know, if we know all eyes are going to be on these social media platforms, and let's just use someone from Chicago, someone from Camden, New Jersey, someone from Philadelphia, they don't want to be, let's just use them as an example, they don't want to be in their place in society. Let's say they're lower middle class or just low class. They don't want to be there, and they see all you have to do is have a phone, which we all do, record myself stealing things or saying, hey, I had sex with this person or this person, this celebrity, whether it's true or not, because a lot of Selena's stories ended up not being true. She said that she was having a baby with Offset, and he forced her to get an abortion, but that in 2018 that was proven not to be true. So if you see that, that's all you have to do. I mean, and let's say you're stuck and you're making $7 an hour, $8 an hour, and you're living check to check, and you see these people on Instagram all they have to do is run around scream, maybe steal a car or something, they're not in jail. It makes sense for you to try it if you are that desperate. It literally pulls on the strings of how our brain is wired. And what it allows us to do as well is create these different versions of ourselves. You can be one way in real life, and your social media person or your social media personality is not you. You might be an Instagram model who only does lingerie and bathing suits on Instagram because that's how you make your money. And then in real life, all you do is wear sweats because that's what you feel comfortable in. It lets you create these two different people. Someone might see you on the street in that same scenario. Someone might see you on the street and go, why aren't you dressed up? I always see you dressed up and showing your body. And you're like, oh, I don't actually like doing that. Or I actually don't do that on the daily. That's just how I make my money. It creates this distortion between who we are, who we want to be, who we aren't. And that's really dangerous. But I want to focus on now, when I keep saying how our brain is wired, I was trying to transition into this dopamine. If you don't know, dopamine is the main drug in our head that causes happiness, causes love, causes mostly anything, that and serotonin. But dopamine in general is that drug that is what makes you keep going for more. If you guys were tuned into the morning show yesterday, episode 1, I talked about how if you're not chasing the right goals, it keeps making you go for the next, from 1 million, 2 million, 3 to 5, keep going. That what makes us do that is dopamine. And if you want to learn more about that, there's actually a really good book on that called The Molecule of More by Daniel Lieberman, and it talks all about dopamine. But my little synopsis of how that drug works, and it's not a drug where you have to go and buy it or it's illegal or anything. It's made right inside our brains. If you go and if you're a track runner and you run a 12 in the 100, you're gonna go, that's not good enough. I need to run an 11.5. And you've never ran 11.5 before, so then you run 11.5. And you're like, I can do better. That's not good enough. I need to run 11.3. And then you run 11.3, and you go, it's not good enough. I need to run 11.1. That's dopamine. That's all that is. That's dopamine. And the way that social media is formed right now, the way that likes work, the way that comments work, and like I said, the way that we have made these celebrities, these Instagram celebrities, these Instagram influencers, the ways that we have made these, and not just to harp on Instagram, they're all over. They're on all the social media platforms, whether it be TikTok. There's people that are TikTok famous that aren't known on Twitter at all. There's people that are Twitter famous that are not known on Instagram. People that are on Snapchat that are not known on any of the other social media platforms. So not to focus just on Instagram, but that's kind of been the language that we use now. We say an Instagram influencer. That's just the name that we've come up for it, or a social media influencer as a general statement. But because we've put these people on this platform and honestly on this pedestal, that makes everybody want to chase it. Just like I talked about yesterday, in the 80s, 90s, early 2000s, it was the people you saw on your television screen or the movie screen. So you said, okay, I want to be them. I can do that. And now, if you fast forward the 2010s and now the 2020s, it's like they have a phone. They have a phone and they're this famous. I have a phone and I'm trying to be famous. And let's say you're posting casual videos that but the masses that you want, the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, so that you can get monetized. That's not working for you. So then you have to get radical. All that is dopamine. And it just allows us to, or actually, I don't want to use the word allows, it forces us to keep on going. And on top of that, there's this other psychological phenomenon known as the hedonic treadmill, if you want to look that up. And that also forces us to give an example of the hedonic treadmill. It's what I was talking about before, as far as chasing more, but this one is specifically what makes you get bored of the things that you've tried to obtain. That's the hedonic treadmill. To give you an example, let's say you are working so hard for a Ferrari, and you eventually get it. After 3 years, 4 years, doesn't matter how long you get it. The hedonic treadmill is the phenomenon where after you get this thing that you've obtained, after you have it for no set amount of time, but let's just use 6 months. After you use 6 months, you get bored with it, and you go, I'll go try to get a Bugatti now. This Ferrari was nice, but I'll try to go get a Bugatti now. And then you work extremely hard for a Bugatti, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it takes, no set time. And you eventually get bored of that too. You get it, and then after 6 months to a year, you go, this was nice, but I want something else. That phenomenon is called the hedonic treadmill, and it's all related together. To bring it back to social media, that's what we do with followers. People work so hard to get 10,000 followers, and they go, that's not enough, I need 50. And then they go, oh, yes, I got 50 after 6 months. After 10, they go, but now I need 100. And it doesn't allow us to sit still or even appreciate the work that we did to get to one place, one milestone. And the rat race that creates is kind of deadly. I want to word all this correctly, so I'm taking my time, but it's kind of deadly. It forces us to try to, like I said earlier, it forces us to try to be people that we aren't and create these characters or change our morals or change the things that we really want to do because this is what's working for people or this is what society wants to see. It's very strange that our society mostly focuses on the chaotic or the erratic or the wild. If you post something that's quote unquote good, it's too obvious that you're looking for clout, and it's a bad thing. So if you go and help the homeless people and you record it like a lot of celebrities do, you go, wow, you didn't have to record that showing you giving them money. Wow. But if you record you driving around in your Ferrari, or if you record you fighting, record someone shooting, like a gunfight or anything else, people don't say, you didn't have to post that. They go like, if you post a minute of it or a minute 50 of it, whatever, they say, where's the rest of the fight? Where's the rest of the shootout? Where's the rest of the chaos? People feed off of this chaos. But the good, it gets downplayed. So you can only imagine, scale that times, Facebook has 2 billion users. Instagram has, I believe, 1 billion. And then I don't know how many Snapchat or Twitter have, but just form it up. And let's just say all collectively around the world, there's 3 billion people on the internet. So scale what I just said about where's the rest of the video and people feeding for the chaotic rather than the good. Scale that by 3 billion. You can only imagine that as we keep going in our society, that you can only imagine that people are like, well, this is what is done. This is who we are. I'm just a part of my society now. And I'm trying to be at the top of it. Like we talked about with the barbarians. This is how I become the strongest warrior if I'm the most chaotic on Instagram. Or even to take the chaos out of it, if you want to add how social media has really made specifically women want to have these quote unquote perfect bodies, because a lot of women get famous and take the fat out of their stomachs and put it in their butts or put it in their breasts. So, and then there's nothing wrong with that either. I'm not demonizing them for that. It's just a fact of what they do. And that makes them money. So women, and that also gets them likes. It also gets them fame. People looking at them like, wow, that's who I want to be. That puts them at the top of the tribe. And it makes a young woman that's, let's say she's 14, 15, 16. You can use any age. They don't have to be that young. It could be 27. Doesn't matter. It makes them look at someone like a Kim Kardashian or like a Kylie Jenner or like a Sweetie or someone. It makes them look at them and go, wow, if they look like that, I need to look like that. That's clearly why they have all this money. That's clearly why they're at the top of the tribe, and that's where I want to be. It's not fun down here where I am. So I want to transition to, like I said, I'm not demonizing anybody for what they can and can't do and should or shouldn't do. And I want to transition to using the word can't and can and right and wrong and eliminating those from our vocabulary. I'm not saying that Selena Powell or Boonk Gang or 6ix9ine or Kardashian, I obviously have millions of examples. I'm not saying that they can't or shouldn't do these things, but the consequences that come with it in our society, I don't think anybody has been prepared for. Not just an individual, but as a society, we're not prepared for it. It's only been, Facebook was created in, I believe, 2004, and then got its popularity in 2006, and then really 2008, and it kept going. That means it's only been 17 years at the max that Facebook has been a company, and that's a baby for a company. Coca-Cola's been around since the 1850s, 1860s, 1870s, and you can only imagine when Facebook and YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and all these platforms, they start to they keep on garnering the masses. It's going to get to a question of what can and can't these platforms do, and what consequences do we have to abide by, or not abide by, but we have to be prepared for. Mainly, let's use Trump in his in his what he's been tweeting, and they said that he incited the riot and him being censored. That's a big topic right now on censorship, and what I would bridge into is what we can and can't do. Maybe this needs to be stated. I obviously don't agree with anything that Trump does or says, to be honest. But I also don't agree with him being censored, and let me explain. Him specifically in this event, with him inciting the riot, I think that him being censored, and the fact that he's the president of the United States and he has the power he does, I can see why they had to censor him in this situation specifically. But in general, censorship is a very, very slippery slope, because it all depends on who it is that is doing the censoring. And what I mean by that right now is Twitter censoring him because he's inciting a riot or he's saying false things is one thing. But when it comes to opinions, I'll use something like I could use something easy like abortion. If it wasn't Trump and it was a celebrity like Kim Kardashian, and she said, I don't agree with abortion, there's no place for it in our society, and it needs to, and Planned Parenthood and all of these different outlets need to be crushed. And let's say Twitter censored her. Well, that's just an opinion. If Twitter is on the side of abortion, they go, well, there's too many scenarios, and you can't just blanket them and say that abortion um, it's evil and stuff. It needs to exist, and they censor her. Then what if we get into a different platform? Like, let's just use Facebook as a general, and they have different views than Twitter, and they go, actually, we're going to hoist Kim Kardashian up, and we're going to censor all the other people that do like abortion. And now we're just in a huge censorship battle, and we're still on left versus right, or good versus evil, and all of those things, and there's no discourse in society. So censorship by itself, and what we can and can't say and what we can and can't do, is a really touchy subject right now. Because inciting a riot is one thing, inciting an insurrection is one thing, but censoring people for their opinion is another. And there are tons of things that I actually want to be censored because I don't agree with them, but that's why I know they shouldn't be censored. Like a lot of very, very, very right-wing views on or conservative views don't make sense to me at all. But I know they can't be censored, though, because there's a huge population of people that they do make sense to. And it's very good to look at both sides. If we're closed-minded and we shut off different sides of every argument, then we'll never evolve as a society. There are things that I thought were blasphemous at 14, 15, 16, that now I'm 23 and I'm like, oh, I thought that was wrong, or I thought that was right. Like, I'm crazy, and my views have changed. So imagine it, and that's only because it's because different views were open to me. So if I just shut that off and said, oh, well, I'm not going to listen to them, or they can't say that, then I would have never changed. I would have never evolved. I would have never grown up. And that's essentially what we need to do as a society, is stop shutting everyone out and actually listen and try to evolve together. I know it's not that easy. Kanye West, when he was going to the White House with Trump and wearing the MAGA hat, he just kept saying, well, what we need to do is go with love. What we need to do is go with love. And he's not really good at the whole explaining his thoughts thing. But what I think he was trying to go with it is what I'm proposing. We really just need to I don't want to say open our hearts like Kanye, but open our ears and be open-minded. Like the description of my morning show says, be open-minded and listen to one another. Because as social media continues to grow rapid, and as our society continues to have we're wrapped around social media's finger, that is the new normal. The new normal is for everyone to have a cell phone and everyone to be connected immediately to information. And right now, in America anyway, what people have done is just choose sides. You're either for us or against us. And that's with every topic. People are not listening at all right now. And that's very evident in the cancel culture. As soon as someone says something that is at least a little out there, or maybe it's blatantly incorrect, we don't correct them. We say, get them out of here, cancel them, they need to lose their job, they gotta go. And that's very, very, very dangerous. And it creates this one side against the next, because ultimately, and it not only that, it shuts us down as a society from going anywhere. If you've seen the numbers, America has plateaued in education, in education, in happiness, in every category they look at as far as the prosperity of a society. Go look it up if you want to Google Google world rankings of happiness, and America is not not up there, anywhere close. Because and like I said, specifically in America, what these I want to call them factions, what the social media for or against creates is factions. You're either on the left side or the right side, and if you're in the middle, then we're going to cancel you. You got to choose. So I want to propose, once again, two things. One, eliminating can't from our vocabulary, what we can and can't do and can and can't say. And just allowing people to accept and take, emphasis on the take, the consequences that are dealt to them. If someone wants to tweet, I'm racist and I hate you all, allow them to do that. And you don't have to censor that. They have to deal with whatever consequences there are, whether they're legal, illegal, whatever. And because what starts to happen when we censor someone huge like the president, who obviously speaks his mind, is a lot of people go behind closed doors. There's 74 million people that voted for Trump, and a lot of them are behind closed doors. If you ask anybody, and you obviously would have to do this state by state, because I'm in New Jersey, and if I asked, a lot of people would just be like, no, because this is a blue state. But to go around in your state, or even Google it and look up like who voted for Trump, you won't find that many people admitting to it. But when you look at obviously the results, 74 million people voted for him. And because we have this cancel culture in this society that looks at left or right, or you have to choose a side, or you're going to lose your job. And if you pick the wrong side, you're going to lose your job, is what I meant to say. People start to hide behind closed doors. Someone could be sitting right next to you, and you speak bad about Trump, and you're like, oh wow, he needs to be impeached or something, and that person goes, yeah, I agree with you, and they're really behind closed doors. They're like, I don't agree with that at all, but I don't want to be canceled. We need to allow for everyone to just be themselves and accept whatever consequences come to them. And we also need to keep growing. A lot of people keep saying that the world is the same, or I keep saying the world, but I'm specifically talking about America. They keep saying America hasn't changed since the 60s, and that's just not true. That's just false. There are literally laws that we have in place that weren't even considered in the 60s. Rights, and there are rights that we have. There are people there need to be more, but there are people at the top of our society, like Oprah, like Michael Jordan, like the Dr. Dre's of the world, the Jay-Z's, the Diddy's, and they're doing their best to make a difference in society, and they have the monetary value to do so. In the 60s, there were Malcolm X's and Martin Luther King's, but they weren't billionaires. We didn't have the things that we have, and it's only been 50 years since then. America's been a country for 240 plus years, and we've only been able to achieve wealth for the last 50 to 40. Let's just use a round number and say 60, going from 1960 to 2020. That's amazing, the things we've been able to accomplish. So we can, and it really downplays us if we say that nothing has changed since the 1960s. So, I want to get into the Q&A portion starting soon in about 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to wrap everything up and give like a little synopsis. We started the show by talking about Selena Powell and the boont gangs of the world, to use a general term, these clout chasers, as a lot of people call them, and why they even exist. In my opinion, as I talked through the show, they exist because as an evolving society, we are and were a tribal society. We look at people to do most of the like work during the day, farmers, things like that, and then we look at maybe a warrior or something, whoever's the strongest, the chief at the top of our tribe. So evolving now to where in 2021 we have a social media society, let's call it. There's a lot of room for people at the top, and there's also a lot of flexibility to get to the top. You don't have to, quote unquote, stay at the bottom. So if you see these people at the top of it, if you see these people at the top of your society, you're going to look at, okay, how exactly did they get there? And if you don't need to be like Elon Musk and go to and have a master's in physics, if you can be someone like a Fenty model or something, a Fenty X Savage model, and all you need to do is put on bathing suits and put on lingerie and take pictures because this person, they have 1 million people that like their photos, I mean, you're more inclined to do so. So as a general statement, our society has perpetuated the ability or the want to get to the top of society in any means possible. Then we moved on to talk about dopamine and how exactly that forms into the situation that is at hand. If you want to look more into that, like I said, there's a book called The Molecule of More by Daniel Lieberman, and if you want to look more into the social dilemma, that's exactly what it is. The social dilemma by Tristan Harris talks about the society that we've shaped and formed based off of Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. We talked about the hedonic treadmill and how that stops us as humans from really standing still and appreciating and focusing on that one goal we just achieved, whether it be you're a blue-collar worker and you just got promoted to manager or district manager or whatever. You don't stop there. Now you want to be the regional manager, and you don't stop there. You want to be the CEO. The hedonic treadmill mixed with dopamine are the two factors that make humans want to keep on chasing whatever's next at the top, the quote-unquote top. And then lastly, we talked about eliminating can't from our vocabulary, and not just from a social media aspect, but as a general statement. There's a lot of things we tell people what they can and can't do, and that's just not true. But primarily on the social media standpoint, we need to stop telling people what they can and can't tweet or what they can and can't say, because that forces a lot of people to go behind closed doors. And you also need to realize, what we also need to realize is where we are in society. And let me explain what I mean by that. If you go back 200 years and just think about where our society was, how there were slaves and there were women didn't have rights, and think about what the society looked like, okay? And you tell me, if you go back then and you told people what they can and can't say, who were the ones saying what we can and can't say, right? Okay, now fast forward 100 years and you do the same thing. Who is saying what we can and can't say? And then fast forward to now, 2021. Who is saying what we can and can't say? And if we allow that right now, like I'm just going to use a blanket statement and say it's the Democrats or it's the left wing. The left wing is saying, oh, you can and can't say these things, right? Because they are considered in power right now. And then let's just fast forward 50 years and just call it the right wing again. And they're in power and they're saying what you can and can't say. A lot of the only real people that are saying right now, there should be censorship and there should be blockings on what people are allowed to say and not say, are the ones in power. or the ones that are in agreement. And so if I say, and people might get a good laugh at this one, if I say there should be a $2,000 stimulus check, a lot of people are going to go, you know what, that's true. And anyone that says there isn't, well, we got to block them. We got to block them. You can see how that creates a society where, imagine if the shoe was flipped, if the shoe was on the other foot. If we said, well, there should actually be a $0 stimulus check, and anybody that says otherwise, they need to be blocked, because we're in power and we're the ones who say what can and can't be done. Then everyone would be like, well, there shouldn't be censorship. We should be allowed to say what we want to say. We should be allowed to ask for this money. Imagine if the power was on the other shoe, and they said, nope, you can't ask for anything. If you tweet that there needs to be a $2,000 stimulus check, we're going to ban you from the website. Or if you speak about it in public, or I'll do what they're doing in society today. If you tweet that there needs to be a $2,000 stimulus check, you'll lose your job and you'll be canceled, and you're not employable ever again. That's gonna make you hide behind closed doors. Now, turn it over to what's actually happening right now in society. People are saying these racist things online, or these bigoted things, homophobic things, transphobic things, and they immediately get canceled. Now, you know what that does? That allows people that still feel that same way to hide behind closed doors. They're going to be like, oh, no, I agree with everything. And then in public, or rather behind closed doors, they're saying and doing horrible things. And there's a lot of people that go, well, let them do what they want behind closed doors. But it's bigger than that. You want to form a society where people are being genuine at all times. You don't want people to say one thing or do one thing out in public, and then behind closed doors, they're like, ugh, I actually hate all these people. That's not a working society. And maybe that's too utopian, but ultimately that's what we want to stretch for and reach for. All right, so I'm going to open up the Q&A section now. And if there aren't too many questions, I'm going to talk about what I plan to do tomorrow. All right. And as far as any Q&A questions go, this, like I said earlier, and it's in the description, this is being recorded and posted on YouTube. So if you want, you can introduce yourself. But if you don't want to, if you want to remain anonymous, then you don't have to introduce yourself.
I just have a question about what you think with censorship. So if we see with Trump, they banned his account, but you were saying that you felt like censorship wasn't the best idea. But how else do you think that we'd be able to gain control of the situation? Or what do you suggest? I don't know, if there wasn't censorship, then how else would we be able to gain control of anything that's going on? For instance, with Trump, because of things that he said that caused people to go to the Capitol. So now they felt that banning his account was the best way to just kind of silence him. So if it wasn't for being able to ban his account, how else do you think, or what would you have suggested doing instead of banning him?
That's a great question. What would I have? So, if you guys didn't hear, the question was, what would I have suggested to do if not censor Trump from these platforms? What would I have suggested doing? Because obviously the things that he was saying is what allowed these people, or what made these people feel comfortable enough to storm the Capitol. So what would I have done, or what would I suggest for these platforms to do in this situation? This is a rare situation. Oh man, in this situation specifically, I feel like they had to censor him. I feel like they had to, because of his power ranking specifically. If to use you if you were saying the same things he's saying, not to say that you're not important or something in society, but you're not the president of the United States. If you were saying these things, you might not be able to incite a riot of, I don't even know how many people were there. Obviously, there looked like to be thousands, if not tens of thousands of people there. You wouldn't be able to incite that form of a riot because you're not the president of the United States. The president of the United States, in general, has a duty to try to keep the peace, but in this instance, he very much breached that. So I feel like they had to censor him. I don't know what else there is to suggest for this situation specifically, because he wouldn't. The only other suggestion is what other people suggested, and on the news they said, well, Trump needs to come out and explicitly say, this is not what I was asking for. You all need to go home. This is wrong. Instead, he obviously came out and said, I feel for you guys. I feel for you guys. You guys are beautiful people, and I know that this election was stolen from us and how you guys feel, but you need to go home. That's not exactly the message that people that are rioting need to hear from their leader. Honestly, that's who he is, and that's what he is. So yeah, I don't want to do too dragged on of an answer, but I just feel like they had no choice but to censor him in this, unless he specifically came out and said, this insurrection is wrong. You guys are not my followers. If you continue to do this, this is not what I asked for. Stop. Unless he said that, which he didn't, then they have to censor him from saying anything. And then as we saw, I don't even say that we saw, as we, yeah, I'll just say that. As we saw, they had to use force to remove the people from the Capitol. It wasn't deadly force or anything like that. Not that I wish that on any of those people. But as we've seen in the past, that is what has been used. So I hope that answers your question. Are there any other questions? If you want to introduce yourself, go ahead. If not, that's fine as well.
Yes, I'm Young Wei, one of the hottest producers in South Jersey. But I want to agree with you and with the thing that you had said with knowing people are racist, or not even racist, knowing that, like, in the office space, if they never came out and said it, now we're blind to somebody not wanting to come out and say it. And then my question is, do you think they're going to storm when the inauguration comes?
Do I think that they're going to storm when the inauguration comes? Yes, I actually do. And I don't want to say yes, but yeah, I do. My reasoning behind that is, I think that the storming of the Capitol showed them that they're able to do that. When I say that, they're able to get away with federal crimes. Some of them have been arrested now, but that's fine. If you look back when MLK was doing his protests, he was arrested. Malcolm X was arrested. Rosa Parks was arrested. That's not anything new. A lot of people, when they're fighting for a cause that they deem valuable, they get arrested. So that's not something new. I say all that to say, they weren't attacked. If you look back, to use those same examples, Rosa Parks and Martin Luther King, they had hoses sprayed on them. They weren't able to move. If you look at the Black Lives Matter protests, they were gassed, they were shot with rubber bullets, and they weren't able to move. However, in this instance, they were very easily able to storm the Capitol with not a lot of resistance. So and there was, to use a general, I'm just going to use a general number. Let's say there was 200 of them that actually stormed. There were thousands of people outside and on the steps, but let's just say there were 200 people, maybe less, that actually went inside. So if you were on the fence, not you, if you as a supporter, and I'm not going to say specifically a Trump supporter, but a supporter of whatever this cause is for, if you were a supporter that was on the fence and you were like, okay, I wasn't going to go to the storming of the Capitol because I felt like I might get hurt, but I didn't see any of them get hurt. I'm going. Scale that person to tens of thousands, 50,000, however many people. Go look at the pictures Go look at the pictures from 2008 of when Obama was inaugurated, and how many people those are. There's hundreds of thousands of people there. So reverse it. Imagine all the people, like I just said, there were 74 million, with an M, million people that voted for Trump. Take only 1% of them. That's 1% of that is 700,000. Take only 1% of that. And even you can take another 1% of that if you want. It doesn't matter. If they were to say, you know what, I'm on board with this now because I saw that my friends and family and my other supporters weren't hurt, it could get really, really, really bad. Not that that's what I want or what I wish for, but it's very much a possibility. So, do I think that they're going to storm the inauguration? I do think so. And I think that the security level needs to be on military grade, as if we're trying to, as if we're about to go into like war. I think people, like, I'm not even trying to exaggerate. I think the Army and the Air Force and the Marines, like, I think all of them need to actually be there at the inauguration. I think it could get that bad. And for people that might listen to this and say, well, that's an exaggeration, like there's no way it could get that bad, that's what we said about the Capitol. The last time that the Capitol was stormed was 1812 when they burned it down. It's 2021. So for us to not have that foresight and say, you know what, we were lacking before, let's not lack again, would be blatantly incorrect for them to go that route. So I think they need to be on high alert and on 100% and be ready for anything. That was a great question. All right, I think we have time we have time for one more short question. And if there are none, I'll wrap it up here. And I'll see all you beautiful people tomorrow. All right. So that ends show 2. You guys can follow me on Instagram and all social media platforms at the Duron Coles. Hopefully we can do better of changing our society. All right. You guys have a beautiful day. Bye-bye.